I've been watching anime and reading manga for a good while now, so usually when I start something I have an idea like, oh, it's one of these type of shows. But this definitely was not the case with Houseki no Kuni. Its ambience and feel is completely different from anything I've ever watched before. By the way, this is gonna be a full spoilers video, so expect me to talk about the entire manga. Also, keep in mind that what I say in this video is simply what I took from the story. The mangaka could easily have meant something completely different, but I'm simply gonna say what I took from it. And since it still hasn't ended, I feel some of the themes are definitely still left up to interpretation. So let's get started then. I won't be doing a summary and just speak as if you've already read Land of the Lustrous, by the way. So I want to focus most of this video on Phos. We can all agree that the main story circles around the development of this character. Phos started out first blindly believing and loving Sensei. Supposedly the reason Phos wanted to fight was because they loved Sensei so much and they wanted to help him. However, the way I see it is that Phos wasn't being completely honest here. Because if all Phos wanted to do was help Sensei, then why not just be a historian like Sensei wanted him to? A recurring theme you see with Phos is that they want to push what they believe is right. That is what ultimately leads to the conflict towards the end of the manga. Phos wants to be stronger. Phos wants Sensei to pray. Phos wants to save the gems from conflict. It all really just comes down to Phos just not being happy with how things are. It's like, yeah, things are fine, but they could be better. In my opinion, Phos looked at being a historian as accepting that they are less than his gem friends. Them losing Artantic was an emphasis on this. If only I was stronger, I could have saved Anta. That's what I am assuming Phos was thinking. Phos thinks that they need to become strong enough to solve every problem. But what Phos doesn't realize is that no matter how strong they are, there will always be problems that they cannot control. The more you try to control every aspect of your life, the more you realize how powerless you are to control every aspect of your life. Regardless of how powerful or smart or anything you are. People try to push the narrative that Phos is innocent and didn't necessarily do anything wrong. And Phos is definitely not the only character that has done wrong, let me get that straight. I feel every character in the story definitely has flaws, and you could definitely see the holes in every person's argument. But in my eyes, the day that Phos stopped trusting Sensei is the day that they started doing wrong. I feel that one of the main reasons why they would feel so betrayed about this is because they had Lapis's head. The knowledge that they learned from Lapis led them astray. Just like in the real world, when people think they are right, they go out of their way to push their beliefs on others. That is what Phos did. They believed they were right, so they pushed their beliefs on others. You can say that knowledge led Phos astray. When someone feels that they are ignorant, they are more likely to trust other people. But once they become knowledgeable themselves, then they begin challenging ideas of those around them. Like, hey, maybe this guy may be Sensei, you know, maybe they can't be trustworthy because of what I've learned. So this is one thing that I feel Phos did wrong, lose trust in Sensei. Because I believe if one thing was undoubtable in this story is that Sensei loved Phos, and that they would always take actions that would benefit Phos. Just like how the first time Phos disobeyed Sensei and went out to battle, they ended up extremely hurt. That is the same thing that happened later in the story. Because they disobeyed Sensei, they ended up extremely hurt again. And okay, fine, so Phos messed up their own life. That's completely fine, I guess. You could even say that, you know, that's not technically evil. But I think we can all agree that where Phos really messed up is by trying to force their beliefs on others. Throughout history, the worst people have always been those who think they know better and use strength to push their beliefs on others. Now that Phos is extremely strong in the later part of the story, they used that strength to force their beliefs on gems that were pretty happy at the way they were. Hurting others because they won't do what you tell them is completely wrong in my opinion. Once again though, let me clear up that the other gems weren't innocent either. They were definitely overly aggressive towards Phos even though they knew that Phos was a good person at heart. The Land of the Lustrous is definitely written like a tragedy. And by that I mean is that things are sort of destined to go wrong. If things had happened slightly differently, everything would have worked out. But it's just not that type of story, at least not yet. Something else you have to take into account about Phos is that they did lose a good bit of memories because of all the body parts that were amputated. So it's very possible that Phos doesn't even remember how much they loved Sensei. Just how much do your memories make you as a person? Now this may be a very biased perspective, but to me this story reminds me a lot of the Bible. Sorry, I'm about to get a little religious, but forgive me, it's just something that it made me think about. To me, the Land of the Lustrous was like paradise. Phos was happy there with their friends and Sensei. However, just like how Eve was tempted with an apple, Phos was tempted by the devil as well. And by the devil I mean Enema, of course. It's like the apple was the fruit of knowledge, Phos got knowledge from Lapis's head. And yes, while Sensei knew that what Phos was doing, they still let Phos do what they wanted to do. And if God was all knowing, that he would also know that Eve was going to take the fruit. And regardless, he let Eve take the fruit. And after Phos suffered so much, all the gems were allowed into the moon. There was no conflict for at least 10,000 years. To me, this is just how Jesus suffered and was crucified so that humanity would be forgiven for their sins. So by that logic, what will happen next is that Phos will be reborn somehow, just how Jesus was reborn. Phos has been really messed up physically for a while now, but I think their next form will be a lot more prettier, or aesthetic for lack of a better word. They will finally see how their actions were right and wrong throughout the whole journey. Anyways, what I really wanted to get through this video was that all this conflict and battle was all started because Phos was not happy with who they were and what they were doing. I mean, yeah, Phos was weak, brittle, dumb, but even with all that, there was people who loved them. They couldn't be happy with what they were and how they were because they were so lost in thinking and what if they were better. And trying to have everything, they lost everything they already had. And that is what I took out of this story. No matter how worthless you think you may be, as you are, you will always play an important part in somebody's life. You may have an infinite number of flaws, or you may simply think that you can always be better. But don't force yourself to change into something that you aren't. By simply trying your best, you will always be perfect to the people that love you. And that's it for this video. Don't forget to drop a like. All feedback welcome in the comments. Tell me what you think will happen next. If you really love me, feel free to help me out with my Patreon so that way I could upload more frequently. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time. Don't forget to make all your friends read Houseki no Kuni.